On today's episode, we are getting into the latest news from a galaxy far, far away, including Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni's new secret MandoVerse series. Damon Lindelof's Star Wars movie has cast their lead role, new details on Ubisoft's upcoming open-world Star Wars game, and the latest Ahsoka series leaks pertaining to Grand Admiral Thrawn. There's lots to go over, so let's get going. In the latest issue of Production Weekly, a project listed as Untitled Star Wars Project has appeared. Although this has happened before, with the belief being it was the Star Wars movie being developed by either Taika Waititi or Damon Lindelof, it's now sporting a working title and has listed two familiar producers for the project. The Untitled Star Wars Project reportedly has the codename title Ghost Track 17 and lists both Mandalorian heads Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau as producers. Just a couple of days ago, Daniel RPK also shared on his Patreon that a new series set in the MandoVerse from Filoni and Favreau is in development, and he used the exact same working title, Ghost Track 17. Often working or codename titles are related to the project itself. For example, Skeleton Crew was codenamed Grammar Rodeo, a reference to The Simpsons. The Ahsoka series was codenamed Stormcrow, a reference to Gandalf from Lord of the Rings, a figure in which Ahsoka Tano has been compared to in the past, and a character Dave Filoni has seemingly taken inspiration from. So with that in mind, what exactly could Ghost Track 17 imply? Bespin Bulletin, a very trusted Star Wars news source, speculated it could actually be related to the Beatles. They said, quote, "Typically, a ghost track refers to a song hidden on an album, meaning a song would have been left off of the record's track list and was left as a surprise for the listener. However, the inclusion of hidden or ghost tracks has rapidly declined since the rise of iTunes and streaming services. One of the most notable instances of the ghost track, and perhaps the first instance of it, was the iconic album Abbey Road by the Beatles. Abbey Road publicly sported 16 tracks, but there was a hidden 17th track, Her Majesty. I wonder if the working title of this Star Wars project, Ghost Track 17, is a direct reference to Her Majesty, Abbey Road, or the Beatles in general." End quote. Is there something there to connect the Beatles to a Star Wars project? Drop your theories in the comments below. The word ghost could also be a link to the Ghost Crew from Star Wars Rebels. We know the Rebels crew and Thrawn will be a major focus of the MandoVerse moving forward with Ahsoka, which we'll touch on shortly. It's also possible that Ghost Track 17 is a codename for a series we already know of, as The Mandalorian changed its original working title for Season 3 from Huckleberry to Foundry. It's likely we won't see the show for a couple of years, given it's clearly in its earliest stages of development, but it's entirely possible we could learn more this year coming out of The Mandalorian Season 3 at an event like Celebration. Earlier this week, an article from World of Real claimed that Damon Lindelof's upcoming Star Wars film, presumably the next to hit theaters in 2025, was set to begin filming in April, following a comment from Jeff Snyder a couple of weeks before, where he claimed the project would shoot sometime this year in 2023. During the latest episode of the Hot Mic podcast, the topic of Lindelof's Star Wars film shooting in April was brought up, to which Snyder didn't know if April was accurate, but that the cameras would be rolling on the project by the summer. Snyder went on to say, quote, "I don't know. It could be April, it could be May, but I think it'll be shooting soon. I think it'll be shooting by the summer. I think we're going to find out a lot at Star Wars Celebration. I think that's where they'll reveal their feature plans for the next 4 or 5 years." Snyder's co-host John Rocca brought up the topic of the currently heavily sought-after roles in Hollywood following an article from Puck News earlier this week, which claimed the James Bond role and a role in the Bee Gees biopic were the most sought after at the moment. Snyder agreed with the article before mentioning that a Star Wars film was also one of the hot properties to get a role in, saying, quote, "You know it's the usual suspects, it's Star Wars, you know, believe me, people are looking into that stuff," end quote. However, the most interesting tidbit from Snyder regarding Lindelof's movie is that apparently the film has already cast its lead actor. Earlier this week, Snyder took to Twitter to ask who the most prominent actors of color who switch between film and television roles are. At the time, no context was given to this tweet, but during the hot mic, Snyder revealed he asked because it was in relation to the upcoming Lindelof Star Wars movie and said, quote, "So I've heard that the lead in Lindelof's new movie, the Star Wars movie, is Lindelof directing this movie? I don't know. So I heard that this lead will be a person of color, and likely though it's not confirmed, it's what I took from it. It's a man. I couldn't get a name or anything like that." Though Snyder doesn't know who's been cast in the role, he speculated that perhaps the actor in the role could be Jonathan Majors, Lakeith Stanfield, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, and Brian Tyree Henry, with Snyder himself leaning more towards Tyree Henry. Also in the episode, Snyder was asked about the state of the Taika Waititi Star Wars film, which was originally supposed to release in 2025 before being sidelined by the Lindelof movie, to which he responded, quote, "I don't know if it's dead, but it feels dead. I've already said it, the Lindelof movie will be 2025. I think they already have their movies for 2026 and 2027. I don't know if Taika's is one of those, but I don't really get much heat off of that one, or Kevin Feige's either, for that matter." Seeing how fast the Lindelof movie has seemingly come to fruition is very exciting and seems like it will actually enter production soon. A nice change of pace for the status of Star Wars movies. Lindelof's movie, which is set to be directed by Miss Marvel's Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, is set after The Rise of Skywalker and will feature a new cast, although sequel characters could appear, and was envisioned as a standalone film initially, but if successful, Lindelof and Lucasfilm will develop sequels to the project. It's been 2 years since Ubisoft and Lucasfilm announced that Massive Entertainment, the studio behind the Division franchise, had started to work on an untitled open-world Star Wars project, and word on the game has been fairly quiet up until this week. According to Insider Gaming, the upcoming untitled project from Ubisoft's Massive Entertainment will be a fully open and seamless universe akin to No Man's Sky. If you're unfamiliar with No Man's Sky, the defining feature of the game is that nearly every part of the galaxy, including stars, planets, and creatures, are created through procedural generation using deterministic algorithms and random number generators, which results in there being over 18 quintillion planets to explore within the game. Insider Gaming goes on to say that despite the vast world, at the core of the game will be an in-depth, lengthy story, which will be spearheaded by a fully customizable character that walks a path chosen by the player. This rumor follows a tweet from Julian Garrity, a creative director at Ubisoft, wishing followers a happy new year and claimed that 2023 would be a massive year for, yes, Massive Entertainment, and shared an image of the Star Wars logo. Many have taken this to mean that the project will release this year, which is highly unlikely. The studio are currently still working on Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, which was delayed from a late 2022 release to sometime this year. The only word we've had from Ubisoft and Lucasfilm was in January of 2021 when the game was announced. It does not seem likely the game will come out until at least late 2024 or 2025. The live-action Ahsoka series is set to debut sometime this year and will act as a successor to Star Wars Rebels and take place in the MandoVerse. Over the last couple of months, more and more rumors and leaks have slipped out regarding Ahsoka, and this week a new rumor has reared its head. According to Making Star Wars, many Stormtroopers have been destroyed in Ahsoka, with their armor obliterated. However, it seems the Stormtroopers become reanimated with their armor fixed in a similar way to Kylo Ren's reforged mask in The Rise of Skywalker. Kylo's helmet was reforged and held together with red veins. This procedure in The Rise of Skywalker was inspired by kintsugi, a Japanese art which sees broken valuables such as antiques fixed with gold or silver to mend the broken pieces. Unlike Kylo Ren's mask, the Stormtrooper's armor will be held together by golden veins, once again seemingly being inspired by the Japanese tradition. Making Star Wars speculates that perhaps these troopers are brought back to life with their armor fixed by a variation of Night Sisters in the New Beyond. These troopers will supposedly serve under Grand Admiral Thrawn, played by his Rebels actor, Lars Mikkelsen, and will also take orders from another lead character, Balon, portrayed by Ray Stevenson, who will reportedly be Thrawn's second-in-command and a former Jedi. The troopers are said to be led into battle by Balon's apprentice, Shin, played by Ivana Sakno. The primary objective of Thrawn and the troopers is to hunt down Ezra Bridger, played by Amanus Fondi, Sabine Wren, portrayed by Natasha Leo Bordizzo, and of course, Ahsoka Tano. The Ahsoka rumors keep getting hotter and hotter, with the return of the Ghost Crew, Hayden Christensen coming back as Anakin Skywalker, the multiple actresses who will play Ahsoka, exploring the world between worlds, and seeing what threats reside in the new beyond. Don't forget to drop a like on the video and click subscribe if you are new to stay up to date with our Star Wars content. Until next time, Red Squadron, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you. Red 5 standing by.